The following podcast is sponsored by Words and Pictures Comics, located at 2610 Center Street, number 6. Words and Pictures is your one-stop shop for vintage back issues and cutting-edge graphic novels. Awesome service, great shop. Check them out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 251 of Just Joshing. I'm your host, Joshua Panteloresco. I write stuff in podcast 2. Today, my guests are Myk Pilgrim and Pippa Bailey. This is part 1 of the two-part conversation featuring Myk and Pippa. Myk and Pippa are a couple. They've been our co-writers, collaborators. They do a very comedic horror-style books. They're really, really cool. Awesome human beings, too. I had a really fun conversation with them. Part 1, we talked about minimalism, comic books, and nipples. I promise you the nipple thing is not what you think. I hope. If you do think this way, I might be a little scared, but I digress. But that's all right. Also, night of Easter holiday and a few other things. I did not give the proper advertisement to Astro City Victory, so I'm going to do that this week. Courtesy of Words and Pictures, I am giving away Astro City Victory. You can definitely enter by just putting your email into the email list at the bottom here of the description of the episode. Anyone that enters can just, don't worry, I'm not going to sell it, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just simply using the emails to draw a winner. That's it. And I might contact you if you do win. Beyond all that, though, enter the contest. Astro City is an amazing book. You should definitely do worse. All right, let's just get to the conversation now, shall we?
Anyway, I'm going to... The recorder is officially on, guys. So I'm going to ask what I always ask. If you got anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
I don't think
How many nipples have you got?
5, duh.
Yeah, like everybody.
Yes, that's right. What's the 5 nipples? So that's just 5? Only 5?
5 is standard, yeah.
It's an utterly disgusting question.
Yeah.
I suppose the natural question is what is your policy on cursing?
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay, so I only have 2 rules. No racism. Just
That's fine.
That's a good rule. And try to keep... I have no problems talking about anything you want, but I try to keep it as politically and religiously atheistic as possible. That doesn't mean we can't talk about politics and God, but not in terms of parties being absolutes. I find or faith being absolutes. I find that causes less headaches.
Well, you've got
Fair enough.
2 atheists, and in Britain, so generally we can just not weigh in on that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's totally fine.
We are 200% pro-human.
Yeah. So that's 200%. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Between the 2 of us.
The 2 of us.
Yes. So
yeah, that's about it.
so 5 nipples and 200% human. Okay, gotcha. No, it's
10 nipples.
10
10
nipples.
nipples between the 2 of us.
Okay, so there we go, guys. Yeah, I well, it's not the strangest opening I've ever had.
Really?
No, the strangest one. So I was interviewing this metal band, right? And so this fly had buzzed in. It's still up on the podcast. It's 2:20. So the fly gets blown like marijuana smoke right into it. So the fly goes right down to the ground. And I'm there, and I turn the recorder on. And my recorder just conks out there for whatever mysterious reasons there are. And then while it's going on, to give the fly marijuana. So the fly now is upside down pedaling a bicycle. And buzzing. Oh, it gets better, right? So in between all this, the drummer kills the fly. And then we opened up and talked about the life of, like, the morals of giving an underage fly drugs.
Yeah, because it really wasn't his choice. I mean...
Oh, well, no, the first part wasn't his choice. The other parts were his choice. He was happy.
He chose to stick around.
Yeah, he chose to stick around.
Technically, all flies are underage, so yeah.
I was going to say, 12 days is a terrible age to start getting a habit like that.
Well, it might have been 3 or 4 days. I mean, it's just one of those things. Is there an ethical time to give a fly drugs? I mean, that was the first 10 minutes of our conversation, right? So,
I know that kind of the 0-minute point is a good time for a fly swatter.
Yes.
As a standard situation. So.
No, it's true. I mean, now grant you, what I found actually got a fly higher, actually, believe it or not, was like peppermint. You spray peppermint, the fly just goes Because
I was just thinking the wings would get it higher, to be honest.
yes. So, yeah. So.
That needs like a leg slap. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. No, it's all good. It's all lie. And by the way, unless we're. So I'm probably not editing any of this out. It's just because it's.
That's all good. No, that's I like to do things non-edited.
Yes. Well, I like things authentic. So I mean, it just kind of works out. But you two have been like a tag team duo for for quite a while at least. So how did you two?
Yeah, at least a year.
Yeah, at least a year.
Yeah, it's basically a year. It was a year in January.
Year in January. We've been writing together since October last year officially. We've been working together for ages, but it was more, we got given new books, and I went, hey, why don't we write a book about this? And he went, yeah, okay then, and so we did. that was it. We were like, okay,
so it sounds like it sounds like you're the one in charge. No? Yes?
Pip.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we got one really big pair of pants, and we just kind of share legs as the occasion calls for, to be honest.
No, hey, it works too. Hey, I mean, when you find somebody that you work good with, and that's there for you, that's a really precious thing. It really, really is.
I think as Myk says a lot, we're both each other's ideal reader, so it makes writing really, really easy, because we can always just we can bounce out ideas off each other, and it's great because I'm very good at the sort of administration and editing and formatting and being very. I mean, my stuff's very punchy, sharp, staccato sentences, and Mike's all about the personality and the characters and the emotions, and that's great. So we kind of, when we work together, we both have different parts that
we bring each other kind of like the average between both of our efforts basically bring the quality of both of our work up, which is really...
Yeah, it's been really good.
Pip's got a much more kind of a clinical focus on just everything. So, like she said, with kind of admin and stuff, like she can just make a list and say, well, these are the 20 things we got to do, and just bang them out in sequence. Whereas kind of I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off with that kind of stuff. Whereas when it comes down to other kind of like other more arty things, Photoshop, graphic design,
yeah, that's you.
Tech stuff on that side, basically, that's where I come to the forefront.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically, where you guys are strong, you guys enhance each other's strengths, and you guys kind of hide each other's weaknesses a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So hey, listen, that's a good combination right there. So and you know, for me, I always thought co-writing, working together, like collaborating like that. I've collaborated with people, but for me, it's been illustrators, which has been a hoot in of itself.
That sounds fun.
Oh, it totally is. Episode 250, I interviewed my illustrator for Alice Zero. She was amazing. Okay. She was amazing. She was really, really amazing. I met her over. We just started talking over Facebook. I saw some of her art. She was showing off some of her art on her Instagram, and it was like I was like, okay, cool. And then we started talking. One thing led to another. I ended up asking her to do work on the book, and she said yes. And then so it's always great that the only thing I had to actually ask her change. There's this one scene where Alice was confronting the bad guy, and I'm like, she just can't have her sword here. She doesn't have a sword here. She doesn't get that yet. She's like, oh, okay. And that was really the worst of it. And that's the only thing I had to do. Everything was like, wow, is she good? I mean, and that's the best part when someone can bring an aspect to what you imagine in ways you never thought of. I cannot wait till people see the Cheshire Cat. Like I just can't.
It's brilliant.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's the joy of social media, isn't it? It's the way that we can meet. It's fantastic. So we met on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great.
It's crazy kind of loop-de-loop of everything. Like, I started off on kind of Twitter about 5 years ago. I was really, really late to the kind of technology game because, I've only been in the UK this time about 10 years, but I'm originally from South Africa. So, moved over here and eventually kind of got on the smartphone thing, and almost as like a byproduct of getting involved with writing and NaNoWriMo and stuff, one of the the biggest piece of advice I got given was to get involved with Twitter. And then via Twitter, I got involved and met a whole bunch of folks. Got talking to Christy Stratos, like Pip said, you were talking to her earlier. And then she introduced me to some other folks and other folks and other folks and Joe Compton and a whole bunch of them. And I was on Facebook and then got some other recommendations to do Instagram, to talk to these people, to follow a couple of folks. And before you know it, like Pip and I are talking on Instagram and not even a year later, like
no, not even 6 months later, I moved in.
Yeah, so
So it works out, right?
Yeah.
It's just really
It's been great.
it's been wonderful.
Oh, but
So,
no, it's for me. Like I mean, I always think it's amazing. Like you guys are in England, I'm in Canada, and we're just having a regular conversation. I mean, if you really sit there, that's a mind-boggling thing.
yeah, and I mean, like that kind of connection.
Yeah,
Jesus,
it's
even-
weird. No, it's like thinking about when we were children. It was like when you thought about talking to somebody in a different country, it was like you write a letter, or it's like wireless radio, and then all of a sudden it's like it becomes something we can all do, and it's brilliant. Like it's just absolutely fantastic, and it's one of those things now where you'll start talking to somebody, and it's later that you'll find out that they're in a different country or they belong to a whole different culture, and it's just wonderful to learn so much about other people.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest advantage of the digital age. I can talk to anybody about anything. I can learn more curse words now and more languages, which is always fantastic. Which is I can.
You know any good ones, Mike?
I got tons, depending on which culture. Because here's the interesting thing about every culture. Every culture looks at profanity a little differently, right? My family's Maltese, so when we curse, it's got the Arabic profane body part concept. So if I say something like, so if I say shamak, right, which is really bad. It's really bad. It's not just in Maltese, but in like Arabic and Israeli, it's a really bad one, right?
Okay.
Right.
We live in the Scottish Highlands, and Scottish swears are some of like the most creative things. It's it's like just hearing somebody like screaming down the road, your spunk trumpet. Things to that nature, and it's so funny. It's always creative things.
Oh god, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of the best. Like, say what you will. There's something very, very satisfying about getting out a good curse because we're like everything else. I mean, we have pressure valves in us, and it's like a moment a permission to release. A natural. It's like, well, fuck. Okay, I feel better.
Proper volume.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's basically you can drop the F-bomb under your breath, but it doesn't quite have the same teeth as kind of a full throttle.
You have to say it. You have to say it. If you don't, it just doesn't work. Now, shit's okay. Like, if you can whisper shit, it's not as for some reason it's not as bad. It's not as you don't need to pronounce it as much, if that makes sense.
I think fuck is it's probably Germanic based. It's got a proper guttural sound to it, but I just love that it can be used in so many
Yes.
it can be used in so many different ways. Good, bad, whatever. It's
I've seen.
That's so fucking lootly.
It's like in Britain. I love that bollocks is something bad, but the dog's bollocks is something wonderful.
Swearing's a brilliant thing.
It really is.
The thing I've come to realize kind of just in the last year or two has been the well shit.
Yeah.
And it's exactly in that thing. It's not like this exclamation. It's kind of you've just spilt milk all down your front and down your trousers, and it's running into your socks. And it's kind of you just look at this moment, and it's this moment of I don't quite know how to take this, but I'm choosing. So it's this well shit.
It's like
that has become quite a common phrase.
Yeah, well, I have to say, like, because it sums up nicely a whole bunch of emotions, right, in that situations, and because it does that, it's one of the things a lot of human beings have a hard time with is properly expressing their emotional state. And the cool thing about swearing is it's kind of like a shortcut, right? You can get all that emotion out without keeping it all bottled inside, because usually that's when we get in trouble. Is when we bottle
it's
shit
like
in.
Flatulence, but for your soul.
Yeah,
There's a word punch, but I like your flatulence for the soul.
you should coin that, man. That's money there.
I just coined it.
Yes.
It is recorded. I'll take a penny every time someone says it. Thank you very much. I'm going to retire.
Yes. Yes, you're like, I'm going to retire now. I did it. I've discovered my calling in life.
In a cardboard box on the street.
That's right.
Thank you very much, everybody. That's
say,
brilliant.
there's definitely a lot of word flatulence on my bus to and from work. So.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Well, so okay.
Yeah, we were going to warn you at the beginning. We were going to say this is going to go to a very, very strange place.
You know what? I'm good with that. Like, don't worry. I will roll with the punches. I mean, if you break me down and laugh in my podcast, it wouldn't be the first time. So I mean, it's like I'll just say I have no words and I take a minute to breathe, and that'll still be in the podcast too. It's just because we're having a good time.
It's good.
I just.
We need to temper ourselves or not.
No. Don't worry about it. Like my whole thing. Like you've listened to a few of these, right? Every one of them is about the person. I'm more interested in
a totally different tone every time. I've noticed.
Yeah, because it's not about me. I mean, it's not about. Okay, it is about your books, but one of the things I think authors, as a general rule of thumb, where we suck at, is when it comes to talking. But like our work talks about what matters to us on some level. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It's about right. We express parts of ourselves in our work. But when I go to talk to someone about that, it's like, because we feel like we have to be heady and pretentious. So what I do here is, who are you? I mean, that's what fascinates me. What's your story and where you come from and what do you want to tell me? And then wherever that goes. I mean, hell, I found out you guys have 10 nipples over there. I didn't expect that information right off the bat. But I got it, and I'm rolling with it because why the hell not, right? I mean,
it really depends. I mean, sometimes we share them. One of us carries all the nipples. Sometimes it's split evenly.
Sometimes we go down to the pub with a knife and collect extras and keep them in a box. It's a whole thing.
That's
all hee hee ha ha.
That's
until someone loses a nip.
Yes, it's like someone loses a nip. What happened? I had an accident. But anyways, that's okay.
No, you're exactly right though, Josh. It's like I found kind of a lot of the time folks take themselves too goddamn seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you check the guys, they cross their arms, they lean back, they're everything but the pipe, and their foot on a pile of encyclopedias, and it's just like, well, I'm an author, and I know stuff, and I'm important, and pay attention to me.
And then we do is like, what do you got to say? Nothing. Wait, what?
Yeah, and it's just like this whole thing's just like an act. And
it's like we didn't know if we were coming on here to talk about our books or just generally chat. So we have no spiel prepared. We have nothing other than I was like, should we tell him when the book's out?
Well,
if he asks, we'll tell him.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to
that part when when we get to the end of this conversation. I mean, that's when we can talk and pimp all the book stuff and why you guys are awesome and made of cheese and all that other fun stuff.
Definitely are made of cheese. Definitely made of cheese.
That's right. Hey, listen. Why not? If you're gonna be like, I mean, cheese at least can is a little sturdier. I could say you're made of ice cream, and that's great. But then the sun's out and you kind of melt. So I don't want you to disappear on me just right away. So that's my logic.
No, I'm like 75% cheese and 25% nipples.
Okay, that works. That works. You're a very dairy person. I can respect that.
Yep.
And Mike's like, my God, he's just rolling with this shit. What the hell?
No, he's just a bit cheesed off. It's fine.
No, not at all. It's like it's funny because the truth is like this is exactly how we are all day, every day, and it's like when we get onto these things, it's like that there's an audience now. So there's almost kind of like this point.
I want to make more puns.
Yeah, like this 20
yeah.
Basically, I'm terrible for them. I'm just like, I'd hate to disagree with you. But,
oh no, you're a funster.
Like Pip's latest one, because every Thursday night here we do is steak night. And it's kind of like...
I was like, if we don't do this tonight, it'd be a big missed steak. And he's like, oh my God, shut up.
And it's basically people slip that in every time.
Every Thursday, it has to be.
Constantly.
Well, see, actually, that then, in one sense, I'm gonna say something really nice to you guys here. I'm gonna say something really nice. Mike, you're a good dude. Do I know why? Now, because you can put up with puns, although I applaud you for that.
It's a superhero effort.
No, totally, but I'm going to say something really nice about you, and I'm sure Pip would actually agree with this. You make her comfortable enough where she can be herself with you. And that says an awful lot about the kind of person you are. And I'm going to say that as a compliment, because that
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
To be completely honest, like that, it's actually it's a two-way thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really nice.
Yes, that's really sweet of you.
It's a really nice way of saying, thank God someone puts up with her.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but I mean, but there's another. But the other thing too, like this is something I've been like, because I've been doing this podcast for a really long time, and so I say this. Sometimes I learn stuff about people because people really trust me, right? And this stuff I don't know what to do with, right? It's just I have a box in my brain of just absurd, or sometimes things I know about people I never asked to learn.
It's full of high flies.
I wish. I wish. I get no problem. People know about that. It's I'm good with that. But it comes from a good place, and I realize this really, really quickly, is that people trust me, and they let themselves be themselves, and I'm really, really like humbled, like legit humbled at that. And at least in my so this is the flip side to that. She trusts you. That's awesome. That's a good thing.
Believe me, sir, we both know this like backwards. It's kind of like one of the cause of our whole thing together is that basically both of us have never been more ourselves than when we were stuttering.
Aw, that's kind of sweet though.
Than when we were with each other. God damn it. Oh, it's very, very much kind of like...
It's nice.
It's what we are. Which is a really... It's not a strange thing to say, but it's just...
It's been nice to find it, because we've both spent a very long time thinking that we were going to have to settle on only being half of ourselves. And it was nice to find somebody where I can go, I can be as weird as I want, and he doesn't care. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's kind of like... You get this kind of crossover with movies even, where kind of I've been watching a specific type of film like my whole life, and I don't think if I've even met two people in my entire life that have kind of been into or have even heard of half the films I've been watching, and Pip's like, yo, that film? Fuck yeah, I love the shit out of that thing. And it's just kind of like every other day we just keep finding more crossovers and what we're at, and it sounds really kind of contrived as I'm saying it out loud, but it's really not. It's just the natural kind of flow of what we do every day.
It's
we
like
just laugh all the time.
It's like things like Goosebump books, into Goosebump books, and so we've combined our collections and things like that. But it's finding that of the very few books that we own, it's having like identical books, like having like three of the same books, because it's everything that we both things that we're both really into. And it's like, oh yeah, I've got one of those as well. And it's like, oh, I used to have that. And it's really good. I mean, our whole house is just full of pumpkins and horror things and horror movies, and
that's magic.
It is great.
That's cool. But I mean, that's a rare, like, it is a rare and precious thing, and when you have it, I mean, and good on you guys for recognizing it. And like I said, that's a
one in a million, sir.
Yes, and that's
very, very lucky in that way.
Yeah. So I mean, that's honestly, it's a really, and I'm saying it's like, and Pip is the same with you. I mean, he can be himself completely around you, and that is like truly a rare thing. And so, congrats to you both, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. See, I mean, there's the flip side. You're not just not tolerating each other either, right? So.
Oh no, there's not tolerating. There's not really. It's like you see, kind of Pip's kind of eloquent, and she puns really badly, and I stutter like a Boy Scout in a strip club.
Oh, nice! I love that. I love that image. All right.
Yeah.
Me too.
I love that. I love that.
I think it's illegal to me to think of that image, so I'm just
that's the male demographic in on this podcast in one shot.
Yes.
Strip club.
There we go.
We have cookies?
I should have said nipples. We mentioned nipples at the beginning.
Yes.
Nipples are mentioned at the beginning. People are instantly going to be paying attention.
That's right. Well, because nipple self. It's always just the way it is. like I said, it's the weirdest thing. I lived in the States, and the weirdest thing about the United States is, to me, when you look at their entertainment, they got no problem with violence, showing any kind of violence on there.
Oh yeah, but nipples.
Nipples, oh my god. Woo!
Nipples can change your life.
They really can. They really, really can. I mean, personally.
But it's the fact that you can. It's the fact. I was gonna say it's the fact that you can post a picture of women's breasts, but as long as you replace the nipples with a man's nipples, it's all good.
That is
little wisp of hair and it's all good.
I think we might have lost Josh there for a second.
No. There was a minute that were kind of like skipped out, like Skype being what it is. But I mean, I heard you. It was just like, I did not know about the male nipple part. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can switch it straight out.
Yeah,
well, I did not know that.
You'll see pictures of like women's breasts, and they'll have like cut out the women's nipples and replaced them with a male nipple. And it's like, so long as it's clearly been cut out and replaced.
Like I can understand.
It's literally down to the.
Yeah, I know. It's I can understand, like, trying to limit that exposure to young kids to a point, but I mean, no. Hear me out here, right?
Okay.
But if I had to choose, what does my kid get to see? Nipples or guns? I'd rather have them see nipples. That's
Same here.
Yeah.
At least they smile.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can't run away from you because you know where they are because they can't move quick enough.
I've never seen nipples of mass destruction.
No, I've never have.
God damn.
So,
it drives you, like, there's some really weird stuff, like, I never understood. So over here there's like the page 3 girl, which I never quite understood. So in these kind of like local builder newspaper, on page 3 there's always a topless girl.
Okay.
And whilst I am solidly pro topless woman, because it's wonderful.
It really is.
It's not a sexist thing. It's not. It's glorious. It's fucking wonderful. It just.
Yes.
That's what it is.
You had a point. I'm waiting for you to get to it.
I did have a point. The point is this. Okay, so this is just like your standard like page. This is a newspaper that anybody can just pick up. It's not restricted. It's not kind of put off to one side or anything like that.
Are they still doing this page 3 girl? They were when I was a kid. It was a thing.
Oh, it was a thing. It was a thing when I was living through in the other place.
Oh, okay, then
So
they were still doing it. Yeah.
It's still around as far as I'm aware.
But yeah, a 10-year-old could pick it up off a shelf and walk home with it.
I don't really I'm not all that fussed about it. But then they make this kind of big deal about putting the really hefty topless stuff on the top shelf, covered up and censored out of reach, and it's kind of like this disconnect of logic. It's make your mind up what the rule is.
Yeah.
Well,
am I allowed to see this stuff or not?
Well, it's just one of those. Well, on the flip side, another weird one, right? Like the U.S. is very hard on immigration against Mexico. I live in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is like one of the largest border crossings. Every day, thousands upon thousands of people cross that border. Like, yeah, right. So I'm like,
is this from all 3 Mexicos or just the one?
Well, one Mexico, like the United States goes, we're really hard about immigrants coming to take our jobs, and yet here I am. I'm like, so every day I'm going across to work, and people are going across over to my side to work. Huh? Weird. Kind of like, and you kind of want, and you wonder. See, I have a theory. I have a theory. Something I learned when I work with my day job, which I genuinely call a sparkle muffin, is I truly believe that.
Is that a sex thing?
No,
that sounds like a sex thing.
I wish.
It sounds like
sounds like a sex.
Hey, that would be that would be the best job ever. What do you do? I go and sparkle my muffin. It's all good. But anyway.
Well.
Yeah. I want to do that near a school.
I go shine my handcuffs. It's probably just as bad.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever, right? But anyways, I learned something. I learned something really important, and that was a lot of times. I truly believe that the majority of the problems that are out there are completely manufactured, and that right. And because they're completely manufactured, and because they're manufactured the way they are, it's to distract people from looking at what's really going on. So I no longer look at what's obvious. I try to pay attention. It's like watching a magician perform a magic trick. So no longer am I interested in the magician. I'm looking at or even the magic trick he's performing. I'm looking at what's going on the rest of the stage, because that's what's really going on, and everything else just doesn't really matter. And I've learned this.
Get the trick. Watch the hands.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Puppet.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's pretty much it. That's all I do when I look at stuff like this. When I look at like weird stuff like that, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to hide? Oh, we're all poor. Gotcha. This is a distraction.
I know, exactly. It is just some of the stuff that people are coming out with nowadays. It's like, oh, this is the big problem. Really?
Yeah, like
What?
I used to work at this place, like standing behind a bar, and the guys would come in and say, you're the problem with this country. Coming here and stealing our jobs.
I'm like, really?
I'm like, dude, I clean the toilets and I work a bar. Do you want my job? I'll give it to you. Like, no, I want a pint. Give me a pint.
Well,
It's like the logical disconnect between those two. I think something I've come to realize in like recently is that the world is not what I ever perceived it was.
No.
And I know that sounds kind of completely obvious, but
No,
like,
I totally know what you mean.
in my basic reality, like I don't buy stuff for other people to see me buy stuff. I don't wear the stuff I wear for other people to see me wear the stuff I wear. Nothing is for other people. I've been alone my whole goddamn life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's always been for me. I've always watched the movies I've watched. I've read comic books. I've been a nerd. I've been all this stuff because this is what I am. If anybody thinks it's cool or has ever thought it's cool, that's been a positive side effect of my natural of what I'm doing anyway. Secretly, I'd be doing it whether people were watching me or not.
But it is. The world is not what we thought it was when we were children.
It's not.
No.
Like, apparently the overriding belief structure is that everybody's buying stuff to impress people. Everybody's trying to. I don't.
Whose quote was it? It was like, people are buying stuff
To impress people they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. Buying
things you don't need to impress people you don't like. There's something else I can't remember what it was.
There's a whole thing
Yeah.
like that. And it's kind of, I think it all fits into that thing that like everything that people are doing presently, it feels like it's all just distraction.
Absolutely. It's an illusion creation thing. I had this wonderful thought. I talked about this when I was at a writers' conference last week with a buddy. I realized something very, very profound. It sounds really simple. People do exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
It's a very profound, it sounds very simple, but it's a very profound truth. And it doesn't matter what the situation is either. People do exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? And once I realized that, right, it made it really easy for me to focus on the things I can control, which is me. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's minimalism 101. It's basically like you just take away all the stuff you don't need and you suddenly start realizing like that you don't really need much of anything to be happy.
No.
And you also start focusing a lot more on the things that actually count in your life, like your relationship at home, your relationships at home, how you sleep, the food you put into your body, and like that whole thing. Like exactly what you were just saying is that people say, "Oh, I don't got time to do that."
Bullshit.
But what their answer, that might be their response, but the actual situation is they can't be up, and that's okay too. But like they need to actually just
acknowledge that they can't be bothered to do it, rather than making excuses. But it's like we work. This is what I always say. It's people sort of obeying the ego. It's the instant gratification principle. It's the I'm not willing to work for my happiness. I want it now, so I will buy this thing to stick on a shelf, look at for 10 minutes, feel good about myself, and then forget about it.
Yes. Well, no, and that's totally the truth. That's how a lot of people live. Like there's probably like going back to the want thing real quick. There's priorities. Like there are times like in your life where you have other priorities in your life, right? You got food to eat, you got bills to pay. I mean, you don't have to do those things, but if you want things like power and electricity and I like having my refrigerator running. I realize it seems like a very simple pleasure in this life, but I like food and I like eating, and I've learned. I mean, so there's priorities. But even in my priorities, I love comic books. I just literally, to celebrate my magazine thing, I literally went to the comic shop and bought some comic books because it was like...
So you still buy physical comic books?
I do. I love them.
What titles are you picking up at the moment?
Oh, good lord.
What kind of stuff are you into?
Okay, so I've been a Green Lantern fan since I was 8 years old. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. I love the current run by Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. It's my childhood kind of revisited all over again, but it looks even prettier. It's fantastic. Immortal Hulk is like the best book on the shelf right now. It's just really, really good.
What's his name? It's someone Chow, isn't it?
No. It's Al Ewing. No. Look up. No, trust me when I tell you this. It's what if the Hulk was Frankenstein? Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like Frankenstein, like he's a monster, an EC comic horror monster. That's Hulk. It's really good.
That was originally the idea.
No, it was. They went like Al Ewing is writing it. It's old school Hulk. But
I can hear the excitement in your voice.
Oh, yeah,
it's
really good.
Tension building.
It's like I'm going to back out of this because you're both just going to fall into this comic book. We have a house full of comic books. I'm going to leave Myk to go into the comic book talk because.
All right. I'll add a couple more. Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples.
Saga's good.
Yeah,
I'm not up to date. I'm about 2 volumes behind.
Wait, which is totally fine. You got some take your time because he took a hiatus, which is honestly, which you know what? After 55 issues.
For context, yeah, Pippa's actually laughing. I think there might be some urine.
Yes.
I love this because it's just great. I love comic books. It's just the excitement makes me really happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. I love Ninja Turtles. I'm loving the new Ninja by IDW.
Oh, the new series is phenomenal.
I love it. It's
done well. I think I've got two more volumes like on my to read list. But I'm on like volume 16, volume 17. I've just been kind of chewing through those things the last year or two.
So I get anything by Terry Moore, and I mean anything. So Strangers in Paradise, Rachel Rising, Motor Girl. His next book, 5 years. I'm so looking forward to that when that comes out. I love Terry Moore. So
I haven't read any of those, but I'm aware of all of them. If that's of any consequence.
My recommendation for you, Motor Girl. Motor Girl. Because it's short. It's 10 issues, so it'd be like 2 trades. If you like, what? Terry Moore.
What's it about?
Oh, it's about a girl. It's about a PTSD.
No. What is it about?
I'm giving it to you. It's about a girl that she's suffering PTSD, so she's talking to a gorilla that only she can see, right? And her neighbor is about to be bought out by the government. The government wants to force her off the property, and it's UFOs. It's a really funny slice of life story, but it's also got some really cool the last page in the final issue, like the final pages in the series made me cry. It was beautiful. It's really really beautiful. It's basically about a girl coming to terms with her life. Otherwise saving her neighbor from the government, and there's UFOs in it. It's really, really fun.
That sounds kind of interesting.
And the thing about Terry, if you go on my YouTube channel, I interviewed him a long time ago when he was doing Rachel Rising. Yeah, when he was doing Rachel Rising. And so his comics are dense. They feel small, but when you read it, you don't notice. Like, they're incredibly dense works. As opposed to all the Brian Michael Bendis stuff. Yes. Okay. So Brian Michael Bendis.
His stuff is solid, but it's really kind of.
As
the years have gone on, it's got a little kind of loose in the midsection, but it's such a crazy thing because there's just not a lot in every issue.
No,
it's really thin.
He's the best, one of the best dialogue writers. He's a phenomenal dialogue writer. The problem he has sometimes is he doesn't let sometimes his art breathe the way it should, because he would actually add. And again, it's his voice. I mean, and Lord knows he's super successful. I can't really argue with it.
It's amazing. I'm not poking holes at any of that.
You just picked up a book that was like the world of Brian Michael Bendis and just waved it at me and then put it back on my shelf again.
No. But I think sometimes for him, less is more when he says stuff, because he's incredibly gifted with his dialogue. He's one of the best dialogue writers, and he knows it. But man, sometimes I'm like, just let this breathe, because it's not, especially like a book like Scarlet. He says some really profound stuff in that, and sometimes he just doesn't give it that minute to sink in and breathe and then go forward. It would add a density to his work that sometimes is missing. But when he's on, man, he's really on. Like, he's really, really good. All right, so I mean, and by the way, Brian, if you ever do listen to my podcast, I actually respect your work, and I'd love for you to come on. But I mean, that's just the thing. I always feel like he's a good standard for anyone to get into comics with.
Banking for the future, there, bud.
What?
You're banking there for the future.
Always, never. Hey, you never.
Brian, he's our man.
If he can't do it, no one can. Hey, Brian. Right.
That was commitment.
Yes.
I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yes.
Our house is full of, was it Spider-Man? Mostly Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's good.
Almost all Spider-Man.
I switched to digital a couple of years ago just by virtue of it just made sense, and I was finding I was reading more different stuff.
Yes.
I could not have budgeted like shit. I wouldn't have been eating if I'd been
Buying the amount
Oh my god.
of books.
that I read.
Yeah, and he does. You read. It's like audiobooks all day, every day at work. Comes home, sits and reads comic books in bed, or books in bed before we go to sleep.
I want you.
So we sometimes read stuff together.
We've taken a reading in bed on Sundays, Saturdays, like when we sleep late and stuff.
So
just kind of.
I'm kind of jealous of you, buddy. A little bit. Not lie. That sounds like a sweet life.
Like I keep saying, it's literally like we're constantly just talking about like we don't need much to be happy.
No, we don't.
Like
burgers and comic books.
I can actually put a number on this for us, and it's really like that's all we need, and we can work a life around the rest of it. You know, like we just want that kind of bare minimum, just so we got like a roof over our heads, food in our bellies, and we can just hang out and do what we do, which is basically create stuff and laugh.
Yeah, which
that's our whole thing.
That was part one of my conversation with Myk and Pippa Bailey. Part two will air this Thursday. Check out their book, Rancid Eggs. This is their newest release. You can find it on Amazon in the UK right now. Pick it up. Give it a read. It's an amazing book. It's very funny and entertaining. Thanks, guys, for letting me have it. And I'm going to go right into part two for next week. So that's what we'll do for this episode of Just Joshing. You can support this podcast a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I am on iTunes, Google Play, Podomatic, Spotify. Whichever you like, I'm there. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, are available at Mirror World Books. My Facebook page is Joshua Pantellaresco, author, podcaster. Give it a like. Join the conversations. Ask me anything you like. Above all else, so guys, be inspired and stay tuned. Part two is this Thursday.
Josh.